I agree. I agree. You have been sort of through a lot for the last 5 years or something, and I think this will somehow inspire the newcomers into the third world, and at least they have some idea of how to sort of get through this journey of sub life because it's always up and down, and then
Mm.
there are always up and downs for them. And at the same time, right, you need to just get more stable, motivated all the time and make sure that all the sort of things are happening in real life, working uh, for themselves and also for the employees as well. And at the same time, right, you embrace whatever is coming to you. And sometimes some of those things are not expected for you, but still, sometimes it happens for a good reason, right? So
Yeah.
these things, I think I learned a lot from what you're saying. And so, what will be your next 10 years in your mind? What's your sort of direction that you're going for the next 10 years?
Well, I think the vision for Crossworks is pretty simple, but it's very complex as well, right? We want to stop the brain drain, and I think it's stop the brain drain forwards, right? But obviously, we are up against a huge force that a lot of things is beyond our control. A lot of things, people are leaving not because of going to Disneyland or just having fun kind of thing. I think it's a very real consideration for everyone who's actually looking at better opportunities, whether it's education or whether it's employment. And we really need to develop a viable alternative for this group of people that they will consider or reconsider this significant decision and decide that the grass is greener where I water it, not where on the other not just on the other side. So that sort of entails a few things, right? Number one is the mindset shift. And it's not just about, job opportunities for job opportunities' sake, because some of these really outlier talent that we try and look for at Crossworks, they have many, many resources at their disposal. So maybe they have come from a family of a lot of means, right? Their family is well-to-do, they have a business, they have multiple businesses, and for them experience and the exposure to opportunities is number one priority. So it's not just about earning a decent living, because they actually don't need to work, right? They are there to work in the job for the experience, for the exposure. So then the question comes back to us on how are we going to create that environment which is even better than going overseas, right? Because when you go overseas, actually you lose certain things, right? You lose the home ground advantage. You lose the support networks that you might have at home, family, friends, and there are a lot of hidden costs, right? So a lot of times when social media, you see things, it's always the nice stories that reach social media. Nobody goes to social media and says, "Hey, I'm a Uber driver in America now." Or look, I'm doing housekeeping or construction work in somewhere in Dubai or Singapore, right? Those people who post a lot about the immigration success stories, they might be lucky, right? They might be fortunate. They might be the 1 in 100 people who managed to land a very decent scholarship or managed to immigrate on a certain entre pass or something, and they have a very different path than most other people. Maybe they've got like a very good determination personally. They didn't give up, they keep pushing. But people take that as the norm, right? When they look at these stories and they see that, oh, it seems like that's the American dream, right? I go there, I work hard, and I can do anything. But yeah, the reality is quite different for most people, because just because you move overseas does not guarantee success. In fact, I think the reality is that you also spend a lot more, right? You do not have housing, right? You do not have transport, you do not have similar cost of living as back in Myanmar. And people who slip into unfortunately some bad habits, some addictions, there could even be a negative, a net negative on themselves mentally, physically, emotionally. So what we're trying to convey is not that immigrating is bad, right? It's not that immigrating is gonna destroy your life, right? I think in many cases immigrating has many benefits. I myself would consider myself an immigrant of the world, right, after all that travels. But yeah, I also acknowledge that it's not a path for everyone, and we are here to provide different options, different opportunities. So one of the sort of solid ideas that we have been looking at is really the training piece, right? Whether we can look at bringing in experts or using the in-house experts that are already hired by Crossworks to do like mentorship, to do in-house training, or to assist the employers that work with us to develop a pipeline of candidates who are suitable for the roles that they have open, because that's really like the supply side problem. And some of these employers that we work with, they are very enthusiastic about hiring, people who can assist them with their operations, because they are looking at us because they couldn't find people in their own country in the first place. It's not because they have nothing better to do, right? Like, these guys are running a business, they have a real need, and the only thing that's stopping them often is being unable to find suitable people. So when I say suitable people, it means that they have to be able to interface with the outside world. Their language has to be very proficient. They need to have the right mindset to work with startups, not just being a very specific tool and turning a small gear in a big organization like a bank, and having a very sophisticated, creative, technical skill that those companies can make use of as well, or even being a generalist where they're more like a virtual assistant or like a EA or VA type of person. So those kind of things need some type of exposure, some examples to be out there, and we want to make sure that these pathways that are open and available, and even if someone is not ready immediately, there's a path towards getting them ready for such opportunities.
So this is all about ensuring the future for all the people who are joining your community, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, it's bigger than just about Crossworks, because when we say stop the brain drain, we really want to make sure that these people have an opportunity to give back to the community, to give back to the country, and to develop the country. Because we always say that, if all the smart people, right, let's imagine everyone who's really smart, who's really well resourced, if all of them leave, then who's there to develop the next generation? Who's there to lead the next generation? So the idea is not to keep these people in Crossworks forever, right? We want them to come in to pick up these skills, to pick up these learnings from abroad through a virtual opportunity like remote working, to cross-pollinate with other co-workers who might not be colleagues, but who have a similar experience working remotely, and eventually to be deployed back into the country to contribute in some way. Could be they help the companies that they work with market access, and they become the local representative. It could be that they decide to start their own business, right? And maybe even like get some support or some know-how from their previous employer, or maybe they go back and work in the private or public sector in some key roles where they can make a difference there. But eventually we see ourselves more like a couple of years you spend at university, but this is like a university where you actually have the opportunity not just to learn but also to earn, and you also network with fellow people who are of a similar caliber, and you take away more than just a salary at the end of the day, right? You take away some skills, you take away some friends, you take away some know-how, some networks, and these are all something that could become very beneficial for both the individual as well as their communities and the country.
Yeah, this is very interesting for me because just by sitting here in my own country, if I have the internet, I have access to all the world around me, right? Not
Yes.
just Myanmar, but cross border. And at the same time, all the opportunities could be here back in my country. If sort of we find the right channel and the right kind of sort of communication path and the right kind of skill sets that we need to establish. I think this is very interesting. At the same time, as I'm living in my own country, in my own place, around my family, I should be able to also add value to the community that I live in. Because if I just go abroad, I can't really help my community back here at home. So this
No,
is
it's
very,
not that you
very,
can't help, but you'll be less effective, let's just say.
yeah, that's the thing. Because I even the reason I just came back to Myanmar was because of the fact that my father passed away, and then some because my mother, right, I'm the only sort of best option that she could have. So this is the reason why I just came back to Myanmar. So I think this is really resonating with me, I guess. And so, what do you think for the startups in Myanmar, right? Because of course, this question was to designed to ask some of the startups in Myanmar, but for us, right? So we need to think about or talk about the startups who are joining the startup weekend, right? So
Mm.
do they have a chance to sort of go cross border, and what are the things sort of that they would require so that they could sort of sell their product or services cross border? Of course, like what the business process outsourcing is one of the best sort of possible options to go cross border. But what do you see sort of there out there as the opportunity for all the Myanmar startups?